I mean, what can I say about the business of photography? Okay. We all know it's a creative entrepreneur world of creative entrepreneurship. And I always tell people, if you want to be successful as a creative entrepreneur, the first thing one needs to realize is that we're not dealing with a factory. We're not dealing with a Coca-Cola situation where you have one formula and you keep marketing it and you keep making money. It is an extremely dynamic field. You know, I started my journey as a painter. So, um, straight out of law school in 1993, I decided to settle in Lagos. My dream was to become a painter. So I started painting. It was in the year 2000 that I caught the bug of photography and started practicing photography more seriously. Now, um, I want to assume that most of us here are photographers and you want to up your business, you want to make more profit, you want to get more clients, you want to be able to charge better, and you want to sell. The first thing I always tell people, if you want to follow my lead, is that there is one thing and one thing only that really matters in terms of the business of photography. Most important is the product. Do you have something that is so interesting and so captivating that people want to pay you for it? So for me, the first thing is that you should have something worth paying for. What is that product? It could be a photograph, which is photographic services, right? Why do people want to pay you? Because they need you to solve their photographic problem. Is it a company? Is it an individual who wants his portrait? Is it a marriage ceremony for you to want to cover their marriage? Is it an industry that wants you to cover their industry and help them market? There are so many photographic products out there. Is it a still life that will help you sell a particular product? Is it fashion? You know, now that is in the realm of product. Now, the question is this, is what you have good enough for somebody to want to pay you money for it? And I always tell people, just like everything in life, when you start, you will always be terrible at it at the beginning. So the question I want to ask is, at what point in your development should you start expecting to be paid? Now, I don't know the level at which anybody is, but this is what I always preach, that you should pour all your energy as a beginner into the power and quality of your product. And the question now is, what will sustain you through the process of learning? Everybody will say, so how do I make money while I am trying to get good enough for people to pay me? Well, that depends on you and your circumstance, you know. But let your motivation for putting in that work not be cash incentive, pecuniary remuneration. Let your incentive be the process of work itself. Now, this is how my own journey went. When I started as a painter, built my career as a painter, and started making a living as an artist, as a painter. It was my painting that sustained me through the years of trying to understand photography and hone my skills and build a product that is good enough for people to want to pay. So I had another job. That was what sustained me. Now it then depends on you. Everybody's journey is unique. Are you working somewhere? Do you have a 9 to 5? Or you would like to work somewhere in order to make money? Do you have parents who support you? Do you have a spouse that supports you? Whatever you can do to sustain yourself while building your skills as a photographer then gives you the time to develop that product strong enough for people to want to offer money for it. Okay? So the first thing is to have a product. I used to use the analogy of rice, cooking, opening a restaurant. Imagine when you open a restaurant, you advertise it profusely, get the best photographers to do the promo, even get Steven Spielberg to do your movie to promote the restaurant, get the best architect to build the restaurant, and get the most tasteful interior decorator to push the interior of your restaurant. But the question is this: you are not even good enough to cook any good food, so you do not understand how to cook jollof rice. You bring people to your shop, you've advertised it profusely, they test the rice, and what do you think will happen if the rice is not done yet? You have concentrated on how to bring customers to your shop without developing a correct menu that will hold them and make them to come back. What will happen? They are going to spread news of how terrible the food is in that restaurant. And within a short while, all that money that you have spent promoting, decorating, and all that will be lost. It's the same with photography. You have to cook that food. You have to understand the ingredients that will go into making a super image that can create visual impact over and over again. Yes, there are ingredients. All these things can be learned. It's not a fluke that you find some photographers who cannot make a bad photograph. But look at their journey and find out where they're coming from and how much energy they put into understanding the fundamentals of imagery. So, first things first, make sure you have a product. Now, after that, the question again some people will ask is, oh, how do I know that my product is well done, that the rice is okay? It's very simple now. If people eat the rice and they say, oh my goodness, this thing is really yummy, can I have more? You know those people, you go to their house and their mom cooks food, you test it and you be like, why is this food tasting so much better than what I eat in restaurant? You'll be telling the person, your mom would make a lot of money if she opens a restaurant. When people start looking at your photographs and they start asking you, why am I not paying for this service? Then say your rice done. It is the quality of the work that will engineer people to unbutton their wallet and start giving you money even when you're not asking for it. That is when you start to know. Now, how do people consume your product? They consume it by seeing. Photography is a visual art. So what I always say is this: do good work, show it. Do good work, show it. Now the question is, how do I show my work? It is very simple. In those days, if you wanted people to see your work, you have to practice for so many years, take individual photographs of real people, and as they are looking at the physical prints, they then decide, pass it from person to person. Somebody come to somebody's house, look at the album and say, who made these pictures? That's a very long process. These days, just drop it on Instagram, drop it on Twitter, drop it on What's the name of this one? Threads. Make a behind the scenes video and put it on YouTube. Put it on TikTok. You people are living in a completely different age where there are no middlemen. Once people see your image, they will vote. They will vote with their comments. They will vote if you have a good collection with following you. You can get all the feedback you want from social media. It's a very direct one. The first time I started putting my works up on Instagram, I could not believe, you guys come from it. I don't know how old you guys are, but I could not believe how powerful it is. It shows me the demographics, where the people are coming from, what they like, who they are. They even put a comment on what they like about the work or what they don't, which is unbelievably powerful in helping guide you. But that is just one part. Okay? When people start looking at your work and they say, can we pay you for this? Then you know. But the question is this: what type of photographer do you want to be? Do you want to be among the top 5 photographers in Nigeria? Do you want to be among the top 5 photographers in Africa? Or do you want to be among the top 5 photographers in the world? Or do you want to be the best photographer on your street? It all depends on what your goal is while getting into this game. When I was starting, I told myself I want to be top 10 photographers in Nigeria. I think that was in 2003. I'm not sure. I don't know. By the end of the year, I got the award of Best Photographer in St. Maurice Style Awards, which used to be the biggest award in Nigeria in those days. And I was disappointed because I had just started. So I realized that I'd better not be setting my goals with Nigeria. So I said, okay, I'm going to set my goal to be the best photographer in the whole of West Africa. Well, you know what? I decided to start competing with photographers in New York. I'll be looking at Vogue magazine and I ask myself, these people don't have 2 heads. And Lubavitch, Briggs, Mario Testino, all these guys, I started studying them. And I started looking at their work and using it to measure the quality at which I should aspire. So that gave me a reference point. So when I look at my work and I compare it to theirs, then I can see that, okay, good, this is a good one. As a beginner, that's what I was doing. After a while, I became more confident and I refused to bother with those people anymore. I now went in search of myself. Who am I? What can I bring that is very unique, that is different, and cannot be compared with Mario Testino and Lubavitch or, I don't know, Maple Top or any of these top photographers in Europe? I started to look at my environment. So first things first, once I've established that my work is good enough, how did I establish that? Well, people started throwing money at me. True Love magazine came to Nigeria, and they looked at my portfolio and they said, oh, we would like you to shoot editorials for us. The first time I did a fashion editorial for a paying magazine was True Love magazine. And they had to bring a stylist from South Africa because there was no stylist really in Nigeria. Omemi Akerele, who set up Lagos Fashion Week, was a trainee stylist under that guy. And we did the first fashion editorial. We had some Dialosego clothes and things. They published it. And how I knew the work was good was that they also published it in South African True Love, which was the parent company, after publishing it in West African True Love. That is how I got to know that my work was damn good. So from then on, I started shooting their fashion editorials. Now, in those days, there was no social media. My mantra is this: do good work, show it. Do good work, show it. The first thing is to do good work. Now, good is relative. You can decide how good your work should be based on where you want to place yourself. Okay? Like I said again, everything is relative. Everybody has different goals in life. Like I said, maybe your goal is to be the best photographer in your local government. If that is your goal, maybe you set a low bar for yourself. Maybe your goal will be to be the best photographer in Lagos. For me, that is also a low bar. I said I wanted to be the best in Nigeria. I achieved it faster than I could think. I decided that, okay, let me face Africa. So I start to investigate. So each of these things that you set for yourself, really, there's no pressure. It's about how do you enjoy the process. If you get to each of these goals, you have to set a higher one. And by the time you finish setting all these goals and you're pushing yourself and you're moving forward and learning and creating work with a mind to improving, you see, that is what you do. Learn, create, repeat. Learn, create, repeat. Do not engage in self-plagiarism. We call it incestuous and senseless self-copying. You can work so hard for 250 years, repeating exactly the same thing, and you have not moved an inch. I'm sure you know some photographers that used to do kwa photography that you have been seeing for over 10 to 20 years, depending on how old you are. And they're still charging 50 naira or 100 or 200 naira per copy. So it's not about how many pictures you take. It's about your mindset. When it comes to each work has to be better than the last. And sometimes you need to ask yourself, if you look at your old portfolio and you start feeling that, man, this portfolio is too much, then there's a problem. If you look at your old portfolio and be disappointed, I say, man, I can't believe I made this type of terrible images. It means you have higher standards and you are moving forward. So that's how you know. If you're looking at your old work and they still look amazing to you now, that means you have not improved. There are different ways of finding out. Okay? Now, there was another question. How am I able to stay on top of my job, on top of my business all these years? But before we even say that, let me go down to the business of photography, people. If you're a photographer and you're an entrepreneur and you want to make money out of it, first stage, put in the work, get some good images. Nobody needs to tell you. You will know when your work is good because of the feedback from people. Please take feedback from honest people, not trolls on the internet. Take feedback from your seniors. Find mentors who can give you constructive criticism. Learn from them. Okay? That's good. When you're happy that the work is good enough, then you come to the next level. How do you price your work? Can you give me a thumbs up, people, if you're interested in this topic? Because if you're talking about photography as a business, then pricing is a major one. Please let me see. If I see enough thumbs up, then I know I should enter into this. Okay. I see you guys. I see you. So that's an important topic. A lot of times people want to find out, how much should I charge? And most of the time, when you're a photographer, people are saying, come and take free photograph for me. If you've gotten this experience, can you give me a thumbs up, people? If you've gotten this experience, people want you to do free photography for them. Now, let me tell you, once you know that your work has some value, then you have to start to value your work. What I mean is you have to start to put a monetary value on your work. How do you do that? First things first, if you're going to be doing business and you say you want to run a business, for those of you who decided to become photographers, because you want to run away from mathematics and you want to run away from accounting. I have bad news for you, people. You can't run away from that stuff if you want to be a businessman. Because what is the purpose of business? To make profit, right? Good. And what is profit? When you take out costs out of your gross earnings. So you have to be able to calculate your cost. I am sorry. You have to keep a ledger. Anyway, before you can calculate how much you're going to charge, you have to find out what your costs are. How much does it cost you to stay in business? What is your rent? How much do you spend on food, transport, your home rent and your office rent, if both are separated? If you're married or you're not married, assume that you're married and you have 4 children, or 2 or 3. Calculate the type of school you want your children to go to, how much their school fees will be from primary school, nursery to university. You need to calculate that when calculating your personal salary, because it's a lifestyle issue. Where do you want to live? Do you want to live in Amukoko? Or do you want to live in Ikorodu? Do you want to live in Sulere? Do you want to live in Banana Island? Do you want to live in VI? That would decide the type of rent and costs that you, what type of car do you think you should be driving? You need to calculate all these things. When you calculate them, you then find out what it costs you to stay. Of course, you're going to calculate equipment, amount of equipment, depreciation of equipment, NEPA bills, fuel these days, now, fuel, and you have to calculate all these things to find out what your cost of business is. You have to also calculate your cost of sales. How much does it cost you, for data on your phone to keep your social media going? How much does it cost you to create content that will keep your social media going? These are all costs. When you finish calculating it, for instance, and you come to an amount of, let's say, ₦1 million or 500,000, or I don't know, whatever you calculate every month. Now, that is your cost. And then you can divide it into what you think is average. Let us say 2 shoots a week or 3 or 4 shoots a week. 2, 3 shoots is probably a more reasonable one per week. So when you divide it and you divide all that cost, then you find out that this is the minimum. If you're not charging anything more than this, you're actually giving out your work for free. So that is you finding out what your cost is. After finding out what your cost, you then decide what should be your profit. Okay? Because you, as the CEO of your business, your job is to make profit. So what do? First, you need to compare the quality of your work to the quality of the best in the industry. And then you need to investigate what these people are charging. That will give you a little idea of what the market is willing to pay for the certain quality that you have. So if you've calculated your costs and your costs come to, let's say, per shoot, if you're doing 3 shoots in a week, your costs come to, let's say, 200,000 or 300,000 per shoot in order to just break even. And you find that people who are doing work of the same quality as yours are charging 500,000, right? Which means you get a profit of 200,000 on each shoot. You need to ask yourself, is this good enough? And if there are some people who are charging 3 million naira, you need to ask yourself, what is making this person charge this much? What has made this person get to that level to charge this much? You need to aim to be able to charge as much as that person or even more. And how is that happening? Why do people end up paying, somebody as much as 5-6 million naira for a day's shoot, while people are negotiating 100,000 with you as if, you're a very wicked person for charging them 200,000? You need to find out why. Why is it so difficult for you to move beyond a certain amount? Okay, so when you've calculated your costs, you check what the industry is, you then have a destination when it comes to value that you want to get, monetary value you want to get from your work. You set that destination. You use the people that are within your space. For me, I decided to use the people that are in New York, the people in London, the people in France. I looked at the kind of money they were charging because I found myself, I couldn't find anybody who was charging as much as I was charging. It became a problem for me. So I was asking myself, why would they pay 10, 20, $50,000, to Annie Leibovitz and not to me? What is it that she's doing within that space that makes people want to pay her that kind of money? What has she done over the years? I found out that all you needed to do to start moving your price up is to build years of trust. It is all about trust. You get to a certain stage in your proficiency as an artist that people trust that your standard is higher than their own. Now, each work you do, you have to exceed the expectation of the client. You have to be a promise keeper. Under promise and over deliver. Are you people getting me? Please give me a thumbs up. I'm not sure. Are you getting me? Okay, I see you. I see you. Beautiful. So the first thing you need to do when you've calculated your costs and everything, find out what the best guys are charging so that you don't lowball. If you have this information, then you know that people will pay you as much if you establish that they can trust. And how do you establish trust? It's by having a killer portfolio. Killer portfolio. You need to do a portfolio review. These days, your portfolio is Instagram. Please do not put selfie on your Instagram page if you say you're a photographer. Please do not put selfie. Do not put a picture of yourself eating ice cream. Do not put a picture of yourself going on holidays unless you're a famous person and people just want to know about your holiday. Put up your best work back to back. You need to do a portfolio review. When people come on your page, they need to look at the thumbnails and they will be like, Jesus Christ, who is this guy? Can I afford him? Look at your page that way. If you have gone through the journey and you have made a name, you can show yourself hanging out with Davido or Wizkid, which is also good for PR, Show yourself hanging out with, Dangote and things like that. I do things like that once in a long while. And after a while, I still delete them and put images. Okay? So you need to do a portfolio review. Whenever the people, like, I just finished doing a shoot yesterday, and I was actually just working for a completely foreign company. A lot of times, I'm getting those kind of jobs. I'm getting jobs from people in South Africa. People are coming in from the US. So this guy came in from the US, and they are dealing with, what's his name? Giannis. You know Giannis, the basketballer. So they wanted me to shoot a portrait of the guy, So the people that are on that crew, they don't know who I am. Somebody recommended me to them. So I have all these people coming from America, and they're coming to meet me. I say, oh, Mr. Kelechi, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being part of our project. We feel honored, And I'm looking at these people. They just start to follow me on Instagram. They're all following me on Instagram. Why? Because somebody showed them my Instagram page, and they scroll past it. They go up, 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 up. They see what do you call it? Wakanda Forever, pictures. They see, some of the images that I have shot, and instantly they understand the value that I can bring. That portfolio has given them trust in my ability because I negotiate my fee before I start. So it's your portfolio that will establish trust, people. Okay? So, what are we going to do? Yeah? Get your portfolio going. That is your power. That is your main marketing tool. But, by the time you have a job, you need to ask yourself, what am I going to do with this job? Am I going to just meet the client's expectations? I say, If you bill somebody 1 million naira to shoot, ask yourself, what value can I give to this guy that is worth 2 million naira in terms of quality, ease of service, and image, how powerful the image is. If somebody gives you 1 million and in your mind you're telling yourself, I want to deliver 2 million naira worth of service to this guy, and you go ahead and deliver it, that extra 1 million is you paying for advert. You convert your client to your own personal billboard. Yeah? That's what you do. That is you turning your client to a marketer. And once your client opens their mouth and talks to their friend and say, this Kelechi guy, he's not cheap, but man, he does extraordinary work. If you're a cheap person, please don't go and talk to him. They're already negotiating on your behalf. So these are some things, if we start talking about how to price and business, we can spend like I can spend the whole day doing this. There was the whole idea of, there was a question about how have I been able to stay relevant all these years? Since the year when I started doing serial photography, 2000, to now, this is how many years? 20-something years. And people are asking, how have I stayed relevant in the industry? If you want to hear about this, please give me a thumbs up so I can quickly put that together for you guys. If you're interested in hearing how I've been able to stay on top of my industry over the years. Okay, thank you very much. I see you guys. Now, the first thing you need to understand about photography is that photography is a child of technology. First photographs that were taken was when somebody discovered the ability of silver halide, to cake, to harden whenever light touches it. And they decided that, beautiful, if I can use a photo obscura projector to project it on silver halide, I can then get an upside down version of the image. Ever since that day till now, technology has always driven photography. And each time there's a leap in technology, photography completely changes. In those early days, cameras were very huge, so there were a few people who could handle it. Film was very slow, so exposures will start from 4 seconds or even 1 minute. So your shooter will have to stay still for 1 minute, And as time passed, they got the smaller cameras, the Leicas, and then Kodak started making, and Nikon and all these guys. Then it was film. I started my career at a time when film was there. We used to go to the dark room to process our stuff. You needed to know how to process film. You needed how to print, on an enlarger on photographic paper. Before we could say Jack Robinson, we now saw QSS, machine everywhere. People can no longer need to know about darkroom. They just go to the QSS machine with their 35mm colored film, and they're getting colored prints automatically reeled out by the machine. That put a lot of photographers out of business. They closed shop. That was rapid change for them. They could not stand it. While we were looking at that, before we could say Jack Robinson, they say he would now have a digital sensor, no longer film. We were like, what is this nonsense? Which one is digital sensor? 2 megapixel camera, 3 megapixel camera. We were like, this thing is inferior to film. In those days, if you finish shooting for an ad, you go and do what is called drum scanning before they can get it to maybe a 3 or 4 MB image, which you considered extraordinary in those days. Eventually, I tell you, we were shouting when we heard that there is now a camera that is 6 megapixels. The first digital camera that I started using was a 6 megapixel camera, Canon. And I thought it was awesome. And then Kodak got a 12 megapixel sensor, and all of us were holding our head and say 12 megapixel. How do they fit 12 million pixels into that place? You know? And the next thing, what happened? Now my Nikon camera is 47 megapixels. My Leica is 60 megapixels. The technology keeps moving. But before we could say Jack Robinson, they have now taken the camera and they put in every single person's hand on the phone. While we're talking about that, you now have AI. So how do I stay relevant through all this time? First things first, just like I was saying before, do not keep repeating yourself. If you keep repeating yourself, that means you're staying in one place. But if you're staying in one place and other people are moving forward, maybe relatively, you are moving backwards while other people are in one place. It's all relative, you know? So, when you make each image, you have to find a way to improve on the last one, and you have to find a way to create something new, something different, you know, than what you were doing before. So every single photo shoot for me is an opportunity to create something I've never created before. So I do have a studio, but my studio is not a studio where you can walk in and say you want to do a portrait. I get people calling me, so can I come to your studio? I say, I'm sorry, you have to book an appointment first to explain what type of photography you want so that we can design the shoot tailored specifically for you. What that does for me is that it keeps me fresh. It keeps me constantly searching for new ways to express myself. So that is how I've been able to stay relevant. I've always remained a student. I'm learning new things every day. And these days, I'm sorry for you if you're not able to transition. With what is happening with AI, and there is a revolution going on now, people. And you need to get on board. We are actually getting into a cataclysmic change. Much like when internet came out or when that digital camera came out and a lot of people dropped by the wayside. With this AI, the change is massive. So what is happening with me? I stay curious. And I stay unpredictable. And how do I do that? Well, anything I put on Instagram, I know that people are going to copy it. So I take a wide angle lens and I do a 360 degrees on my setup so they can see exactly how I did it. Then I do a YouTube video and teach them how I shoot so that they can take it. Once they take it and they copy it, I know I cannot repeat myself. What I have dropped out there has become the norm. Then I must move to the next thing. So I'm compelled to create another way. And let me tell you this, if you want to stay unique and you want to stay relevant, when you're starting, it is okay to try and copy to learn how it's working, but you must find your own voice. Like somebody said, I do not want to be the best photographer. Why? Because I will then be measuring myself by some individual who I consider the best. And by doing that, I put myself under that individual. I want to be the best Kelechi Amadi that I can be, the most authentic me that I can be. And I'm constantly in search of who Kelechi Amadi is. And once I find it, then nobody can compare to me. It's either you're using me at my price or you're not. There is no whether it is either Kelechi or this other person. So you should be in a constant state of reinventing yourself. That is how at keeping myself relevant over the years. And it does take time. It does take time to to build that kind of trust and build that kind of portfolio. And I also say, please do not worry about anything. Enjoy the process. Life in itself is a journey. There is no arrival. This is my mantra. The only true arrival is in the grave. So enjoy the process. That is what gets me up every day. Now, let me tell you this. There's something that happens to you as a photographer. As a young photographer, you're starting your journey. You want to impress people so that they can patronize you. So you make a portfolio and people start to patronize you, right? Before then, nobody knew who you were. So you had all the time to create amazing works in order to impress people because, well, nobody was commissioning you. But there's something, another stage that will come to you. By the time you start making good work, people are going to notice you. They're going to start commissioning you. You get to a critical point where you have more commissions than you can handle. So you start making money back to back. Now, there'll be some times when before you know it, a whole year is gone and you're shooting commissioned works and you're making a lot of money. Your lifestyle will change. You start affording to pay bigger school fees for your children. You start buying nice cars. And if you're not very careful, you start doing dorime in nightclubs. And you may find yourself beholden to those clients because of the money they're giving you. And you will lose your voice as a creative because you're doing something that is not your own engineering. You're shooting for money. And you lose that thing that made them to start calling you in the first place. So you must find time, no matter how successful you are, no matter how busy you are, to create work that is personal.
This space was downloaded via spacesdown.com. Visit to download your spaces today.
Create work that expresses your opinion. Because every photograph that you take says something about what you feel about that particular project. Okay? So, once you're able to maintain that originality and maintain a voice, it will never get stale. It is that expression of yours that then becomes your brand, becomes your voice. And when your voice becomes very loud, then photography ceases to just be an end in itself. Photography becomes a means to an end. It is your ability to communicate. Then through photography, people see your mind, who you are. And it is that opinion that transcends imagery. Once people start to listen to you, you become an opinion leader. Then it goes beyond the imagery. People then want to associate with who you are. Then it goes beyond that. Sometimes people call me to do a shoot and I bill them heavily. They don't mind. They just want people to know that they can afford me. So me, myself, I become another thing way beyond my photography. They don't want to see any image. They just want people to know that it's Kelechi Amadi that is doing the shoot. So it goes beyond the technicalities of your image or anything because you've become an opinion leader through your work. So I think I will sort of slow down there, you know. Um, and maybe, I don't know, is it possible for people to ask questions?
Okay. Okay. Thank you, sir. It's been like a chill, like it seems like you just literally poured cold water on my body, like from a cold room. So I've just been drilled. So I mean, you've taken a whole lot time to sort of put us on, and it can only be you that can just do this. And we're really delighted once again. We're super excited that you're actually speaking to us. So please, if you've been hearing Sir Kelechi Amadi speak, and then you've been listening, I want to have a thumbs up of everyone, please. Just a thumbs up. If you've been listening, I want to have a thumbs up. The space is recorded, and we're going to create a recap document that you can look back and read through every single thing Sir Kelechi Amadi had said tonight on the space. So do not worry if you've not listened, if you even really heard everything. You're going to have a recap document to look back, right? Okay, it's been a great and amazing moment. I was dreaming for this moment, and I'm glad it's more of a dream come true thing. Thank you, Sir Amadi. We're really delighted and we're excited.
You're welcome, my
So
brother. Thank you.
thank you, sir. So therefore, we want to get you to speak to ask Sir Kelechi Amadi so couple questions that have been bothering you, that you've been longing to ask him in a distance. Just need to have a few, like, it's a 1 minute, and then get a mic, and then ask a question. All right. My co-host Ozzy. Okay, so Sir Kelechi Amadi, I'm also growing a photography community where we bring in photographers from all over the world, where we create like a family, where we share ideas, we share knowledge. Photographers shares their pain, shares their happy time, whatever they're going through in their career. We just sort of put everybody on. We put jobs, we criticize, and then we we also share knowledge, bring in top experts like we've brought to Sir Kelechi Amadi. We also brought other speakers to speak to photographers regarding the improvement of how they can build a successful business in photography. Thank you, sir, for joining us once again tonight. Please, if you need to ask Sir Kelechi Amadi a question, kindly request for a mic, and my co-host Ozzy or I myself will give you a mic. But while you're trying to ask a question, I'm going to ask Kelechi Amadi a question. Okay, Sir Kelechi Amadi, my question goes this way. You've been in the photography space as like on top of the game for over 20 years. And it's been like a routine, a life routine process where you do one thing every day. What is your why factor? What is your why factor? I mean, the essence of doing this photography thing every time, and it feels like you just started yesterday. What is your constant motivation and your inspiration? Please, I'd just like you to, give a take on that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that question. Um, I absolutely, it's a very brilliant question. Thank you very much. It's so important. What is your why? What gets you out of bed? You know, at different times of my career, I had different whys. You know, at the point I just wanted to make good images. Just make beautiful pictures you know um, that get people oohing and eyeing. So that was my initial um, excitement. I was obsessed with aesthetics of imagery, so I studied design and tried to make very strong imagery. Okay. As time went by, I started achieving that over and over again. I started asking myself, is that all there is to photography? Just making beautiful things? Then I started to think beyond photography. I started to think about humanity. I started to think about myself. What am I trying to say to humanity? What is my contribution to this world, through my craft? And that is when I started thinking about the continent of Africa and why they call it the dark continent. But dark meaning bad, meaning evil, meaning depraved, you know. And I find I started looking at the politics of it. I started listening to Bob Marley, through my years, listening to Fela, and I started to doubt, I started to see conspiracies,
a conspiracy to keep the black man down and make him fail to realize his potential, fail to realize how great he is. And I see that my people, they perish for lack of wisdom, for lack of knowledge of themselves to understand who they are. And I believe that thoughts are things. And every progress that every race has made is based on the general culture and attitude and the stories they tell themselves. There has been a predominance of dark stories being told about Africa. Yet, this continent is the motherland, is the source of humanity. And at the same time, it is the richest continent in the world in terms of resources. So it's a conspiracy. It's a conspiracy to keep us down. So, what is my why? My photography is there to tell a new story of the African continent, to let people see the greatness, the beauty, the power. So, when I started my photography, I used to shoot a lot of reportage, and I was getting a lot of attention globally. I used to go and exhibit all over the world. And the foreign curators were always interested in images of poverty and grit. So one day I realized that, why are these people always interested in poverty? Who are their most revered photographers in Europe? And I start to see the names of people like Nick Knight and Leibovitz, Mario Testino. And what are these people shooting? They're shooting fantasies. They don't shoot reality. They shoot dreams of worlds that could be. So we see a picture of Beyonce on the cover of Vogue. The hair that she has on is not even her own hair. The clothes that she's wearing is not in her wardrobe. The eyelashes don't belong to her. The hotel or the environment that you see her in does not belong to her either. The whole picture is a figment of somebody's imagination. It's a fantasy, it's a world that does not exist. It was conjured by the creatives. But it leads their people to a destination of believing in what could be. So the cover of Vogue, the cover of GQ, the cover of all these magazines edifies and amplifies the success of the people on their cover. While the cover of some National Geographic's Life magazine and all that, or Time magazine that will show an African child that is about to be consumed by a vulture, we call it poverty porn in order to attract donations to Africa. So I see the disparity in these things. When I started my photography, Nollywood actors were not looking so good. Our musicians were not looking so good with their album covers. Our CEOs didn't even have photographs of themselves professionally taken. So I took up all this. I said, look, I'm going to shoot the most beautiful, the most talented, the most powerful people and show Africa in a different light. Recently, I decided to shoot the landscapes. That is my why. That is what gets me out of bed beyond making a buck or making just a photograph. It's a movement to liberate the country, to liberate the continent, and express blackness in its, most glorious. So that is the higher purpose of my photography beyond trying to run a business. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. That's really insightful. I'm glad, and I would tell you for a fact that in when it talks about telling stories, powerful stories, sir, you've done an amazing work for Africa entirely, not just Nigeria, entire Africa. You've done an exceptional work. Now, let me say this. For me personally, I think I'm more of this is going to be my ADA in photography. And my why factor has been you. Now, I also started photography at a point where there was not so much of top professionals at where I was at the time. And then to gain the knowledge wasn't really that easy and cheap. Then I got the only thing that could help me was going through your pictures. Your pictures was my why factor. I told myself that I'm not going, if Kelechi Amadi could be a top photographer that is making good money and living his better life as a photographer, I am going to be a photographer and I'm going to be a top professional. I'm not going to run around for photography to sell pictures for 200 naira in events. So you were my strong bone of strong factor, and I'm glad that I followed through your process and it's really helping me. Now, this is another question, sir. Before I call up Jide to ask this question, Now, so imagine your young self as in recent time as a photographer, and then the struggle, the economic depression, the economic crisis, a young you in 2022, 2023 as a photographer, and things are not really moving same way. Equipment are expensive, gadgets are expensive. Some clients can afford a younger you because like you've not really step up to that top professional level that you can attract top potential clients, high paying clients. What will you say to yourself as a young Kelechi Amadi? What will you do differently that will enable you get get much potential high paying clients? I'm just sort of asking for the entire photographers, sir.
Thank you very much. That question is what I've been trying to answer in this whole talk. First things first. One of the biggest problems I see with young photographers is that they are quick to start calculating how much they need to charge and how much they need to make. And they're quick to compare their fees with the fees of people who have proven themselves over years. And once you start by doing that, you are creating a psychological barrier for yourself. What I mean is this. If what gets you up from bed is how much you think people are going to pay you, then your fuel is the amount of money that you think you ought to make. The problem with that is that you are not yet good enough as a beginner. And if your motivation is that people are going to pay you, you'll be in a hurry to start charging money. And one of the dangerous things that happens with that is that once you start telling people to pay you money, when you have not put in the real energy to create an extraordinary piece of work, you may start finding a good number of people who are willing to pay you. Why? Because they don't have an eye for good photography. You're just a good marketer. So before your product is already well done, you started earning money. That is where you start to create a stunted career as a photographer. The quality of your work is low, and you've struggled and you've been able to convince a lot of people to pay you for that poor quality of work. And when that starts to happen, you become part of the bandwagon of people who complain about clients not wanting to pay money. Clients should be chasing you with their money because your work is extraordinary. If they are struggling to pay you, then your work is not good. People should be chasing you with their money. So for the photographer who has extraordinary work, you're not going to be looking for clients who will pay you what you want. So what I see is the first things first. It is that work. After that, it is now your personality. How do you relate to your clients and all these things? All the other tenets of business. How do you retain a client? You know, to get to those high-paying clients, you need to have a high-level portfolio that is separating you from the rest of the people. So creative photographers should not ignore the craft itself of creative photography. You have to go and read and understand how, to make extraordinary imagery. You have to understand design. You have to understand color theory, composition, lighting, all the technicalities. And then go beyond that and start reading, about life so that you can have an opinion. The photography is not just there for assignments. It is there to express an opinion. So you must have an opinion. So you must enrich yourself as a human being. You must enrich your knowledge so that you go beyond just creating imagery and become somebody that comments on life. There are so many writers out there, but very few of them can be compared to Chimamanda or Wole Soyinka or Chinua Achebe or Cyprian Ekwensi. There are so many musicians out there. Well, very few of them can be compared to Fela or Bob Marley or these days Burna Boy. Why? Because these guys have developed beyond their craft and have become opinion leaders. So you have to go beyond the mastery of your craft. You have to keep scaling, and each time you scale, you get to a new place. So it's a journey. First of all, if you want to get far in that journey, make sure that what is powering you is something higher than money. So even now, I have to find a reason to shoot and move beyond just making money. So that's my answer to that question.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Please, everyone, kindly follow Sir Kelechi Amadi on his Twitter space, on his Twitter page, and also go on Instagram, search for Kelechi Amadi OB, follow him on Instagram as well, and then see his
And then
amazing
YouTube.
stuff.
What I've decided to be giving a lot of lessons on YouTube. So just go straight to the subscribe button and subscribe and put your notification on so that once I put a tutorial, you can get it.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
You're
Guys,
welcome.
please go subscribe to Sir Kelechi Amadi YouTube page to be able to look through his tutorials. I watched his last project with this Nollywood star, and then it was a wow video for me. Thank you, sir, for that content, that video.
You're welcome. That was Shafi Bello, yeah?
Yeah, yes, sir. That was I was just the fashion editorial. I was just wowing, like wow. The compositioning and everything was just a very solid and powerful imagery. Thank you, sir. You did a great job. Thank you. Okay, Jide, you have the mic, please. You have a minute.
All right. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
So you have been an inspiration to us. You have kept us on our toes. You know, anytime we look at your pictures, we see, and then we start asking questions like, how does this man does it? In fact, me, I call you daddy because your lighting is so amazing. So initially, my question was meant to be for people that are really excellent and then they put their work out and then they don't have like enough recognition or money. But I think you answered that question properly, so I don't need to like overemphasize that. So I have basically two questions, sir. My first question is, how do you create mood boards? How do you create mood boards for your shoots? Is it like your clients will discuss the ideas with you and then you write down those ideas or something? I want to know. Most times I want to know how you create, how you think before you bring out those amazing pictures. And then secondly, the in Nigeria today we know that most photographers that make money in photography today in Nigeria are wedding photographers. But me personally, I've noticed that you don't shoot weddings at all. So I want to know your reason why you don't shoot weddings and how you have been able to sustain your business with just portrait photography, sir. So thank you, Mr. Kingsley, for hosting this live show. And then my question is to Oga Kelechi.
Okay, thank you very much, my brother. It's a lovely question. You know, the first one was, how do I make mood boards? You know, it depends. Every project in itself is unique. So what I do is to research into the project, understand what the visuals. How do I translate this thing to a visual? Every project is unique. So the first thing I do is understand what the project is about, and then find a way to translate it visually. These days, in those days, it used to be, rummaging through magazines, or sometimes I have to sketch because there was no YouTube, there was no Google images and all that. But these days, Pinterest is completely bonkers, man. Before Pinterest, I used to go search and look for, images that are close to that. Sometimes you can't find an image. The other day, I was with a client and couldn't find any image, so I had to sketch it, You have to sketch it, but that's because I'm an artist, okay? But these days, we now have a Mid-Journey where you can just tell the thing, describe what you're talking about in words, and it will create the image for you. So these days, creating mood boards has become easier and easier, So that is that. The second question was, what was it again? There was a second question.
So it was asking of how you're surviving being just a portrait and fashion photographer.
Oh yeah. At the beginning of our journey, we always try our hands on everything. You understand? So I also tried my hands on wedding photography, and when I looked at it, I had to ask myself a question. I said, Kelechi, do you want to be the baddest wedding photographer that ever lived? Are you so much in love with love itself and this kind of union that you want to be the baddest, the most awesome wedding photographer, given how tedious the whole process was? And my reply was no, I don't. So one of the easiest ways to move ahead in this world is to concentrate your energies. You cannot do everything, cannot be, how do I put it, jack of all trades. In order to make impact, you have to push your energies in a particular direction. I said, okay, Kelechi, do you want to be the baddest, most amazing fashion photographer? I said, hell yeah, I want. So I put my head there. Do you want to make the most awesome portraits? I said, yeah. I put my head there. So you have to define what you are not. You cannot be everything because you dissipate your energies. I saw that and I decided, and photography is so vast. You can make a hell of money here and there in different parts of photography. A lot of people do not even know of my real estate photography. A lot of people don't know about my still life photography. Why? Because I don't make too much noise about it, but I make a lot of money in those areas, So, yeah, I decided to concentrate my energies. And look, there are so many areas where you will find sukkah. You just need to find the clients that will pay what you ask for. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I think that Jide, I think that Sir Kelechi Amadi has been able to attempt your question effectively, right? You okay?
Yes, very well. Thank you very much, sir. We really appreciate.
You're welcome, my brother.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir. And I think I will let my co-hosts ask this question. Ozzy, please, you have the mic to ask Sir Kelechi Amadi your question.
Okay. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, my brother.
Ashraf, Ozzy Ashraf, and I have to say, this is by far the best space we've had. Like, this is by far the best one and the most informative one I've ever had. And your experience is really showing it, like the way you talk and everything. And I'm sure if I could unmute everybody, so everybody would give you a round of applause, I would. But it's not possible. I'm sure everybody wants to. So what time we've been having this discussion, we've been having these arguments in the group about AI and the extent to which we feel it might displace some photographers, or like the way you said with the cameras that came up, and how some photographers that were stuck in the old ways, how they had to use their jobs, how some don't have their jobs. So my question to you is, how worried are you about AI, and what advice do you have for people who are still trying to find ways to adapt to this new thing that is coming, like this AI thing? What advice do you have, and how worried are you that it might displace a lot of photographers? That's my question.
Well, the truth is that it's just like every other thing that comes, you know. And if you go through history, it's like that. Do you understand? I mean, when the car came out, the people who are making horse carts complained about the car. This is just a chunk of metal. It has no soul. You know, when you have a horse has character. The hoofs, the smell of horse shit, all that was all part of what humanity was used for. When they saw that machine, they could not relate with it. They rejected it. You understand? But gradually it took over. And all those people, if they didn't go to learn how to drive a car, and they were still carrying horses, they lost their jobs. So it's about those who can, these days, things are happening so fast, you have to become a futurist. So when ChatGPT came out, I was like, what is this? You have to engage first and understand what it is and find how it becomes relevant to your work. I mean, looking at generative fill on Adobe Photoshop, it's unbelievable what it can do to your image. Now, I've found a software that edits people's faces. Like, it's not like all those stupid ones that will turn your face into one funny, you know, like super smooth. This is editing the face like it's a human being editing it. It's AI. It maps out the face and decides which pimples to remove and which ones to leave. It's unbelievable. So what you do with this change is to understand it and see how it relates to where you are, where you're going to. If the core of what you do, for instance, you know, I used to say I'm a photographer, but now I call myself a storyteller. Immediately they put HD video into DSLRs. I realized that I'm also a filmmaker. I cannot be carrying a camera that shoots still and at the same time shoot 4K video, 120 frames per second, you know, and all these things. And I refuse to engage. So what I advise is by all means engage. Please stop complaining about whether it's going to take your job or not. Understand it and see how you can take advantage of it. That is what I do. You understand? Now, everybody is new. Nobody can say that they have 20 years experience in AI. So by all means engage and understand how it works so that you not be left behind. But just like every other thing, you know, AI is like a knife, okay? You know, you can use it to cut vegetables and you can use it to stab somebody to death. It's like fire, you know, you can use it to cook a nice meal, you know, make suya and enjoy it. At the same time, you burn the house down. So find yourself on the side of positive use of innovation. But by all means, do not stay in one place because you'll be swept away by change. You understand?
Yes, I do. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Very much. That really
Okay.
answers the question.
Okay. Thank you, sir. I want to ask one question that's really been bothering me, sir. It's about the question is about confidence, right? And you've got to the peak of your career. You've got to the peak of your career, the extreme. That I want to ask this question: is there certain projects that makes you feel nervous? Is there certain project that makes you feel like that sense of anxiety, like you feel a little bit shaky, nervous to create? Has it ever come to that point in your career in recent time or in few years ago that even at the peak of your career that you feel a bit of sort of nervous in some certain projects?
You know, in life, okay, there are two things. We design, we make plans for things. So we design, right? So making plans and planning what you want to do is a design. But then chance happens to you. I call those chance accidents. So life is a combination of designs and accident. Now, design is you being prepared and having confidence in what you want to do. Accidents are things that come that you did not expect. Now, those accidents may lead to failure. But it's also those accidents that accentuate your humanity, that makes you stronger than AI. It is your ability to navigate the accidents that makes your work unique, that teaches you new things that nobody has ever seen before. So whenever I go to do my personal project or even clients' project, sometimes I'm in search of those accidents. It's not that I have no fear. Sometimes I'm afraid, but I still go ahead and embrace impending failure because nobody ever learned from success. You only learn from failure. So you're talking about the fear of failure, but I say embrace failure. It is failure that those mistakes that then create the ability for you to adapt and do what you've never done before. If everything was certain, it would be boring. So yeah, am I afraid? Do I have that tingling? Oh yes. In fact, I just finished a meeting with a client today. I'm supposed to put a mood board, but I'm here talking to you guys. So after this, I have to go double down and investigate and work. I'm constantly working on uncharted waters. In fact, in this project, I'm not a photographer. I'm a movie director. So I have to investigate and learn. So I'm constantly searching for areas where I am not very good, where I must learn to improve and become something new. It is what gives me confidence is the fact that I am confident in who I am. It's creativity. It's very relative. Have confidence. I know what I can do with design, but I don't know what I'm going to see. In fact, the script is not fully written. But I know that when I get there, something awesome will come out. But who knows? And again, who cares about the future? Are you even sure you will survive today? So have no worries. Just jump into it anyway. That's my way. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I mean, I've just been smiling all through. You've really been like, you just put everything out. Like basically, what the expectation, the anticipation is just, everything just cleave, everything just, collide, and the results of what we've got tonight is really been impactful. And I know how busy you are. Sometimes I just don't want to distract you because I know how much busy you could be. But I really, really don't take this opportunity for a joke, for taking out this time to, share this deep knowledge with us, because I know what it takes to get this knowledge on a platter of gold for free. It is not an easy thing. If it was supposed to be on a physical or a master class, I know how much would have been cost to be able to hear this great secret and top knowledge we've heard tonight on a free spot. We want to say thank you so much, sir.
You're
Please,
welcome.
thank you, sir. If you can hear me, just give me a clap for Sir Kelechi Amadi. Just a clap. Give me a clap thumbs up, please. Everyone on the space, give me a clap thumbs up. If you can hear me, give me a clap thumbs up. A clap thumbs up. Just send some appreciation to Sir Kelechi Amadi for the time spent with us. Give me a clap, a clap emoji. I know I'm speaking for all photographers that Sir Kelechi Amadi has been a voice in the community. He's been like a major factor to look up to, you know, and we have been, and from way back till now, it's still been, different types of improvement on every project. Sometimes I wonder, like, how does he even come up with all this, creativity? It keeps sparking by the day, and then it's such a privilege that we sort of have you talk to us, because I know that it is not really an easy thing to do, sort of, and plus the stress we've been through tonight, the stress I've personally put you on, trying to stressing you on Twitter to get to figure out how to join the space and be visible. We really want to say thank you on behalf of Flick Click community. We just want to say thank you for my my graphic artist guy Mabes, who has always been, he's always putting up the energy. When we pitch to host you, he sort of made every possible means, like, okay, let's push it this way, and he made everything came out within a few days. To the community, thank you. I want to say thank you. And to Kelechi Amadi, I can't just thank you enough. I can't just thank you enough. And we're looking forward to bring you on a physical photography event to just keep speaking to us, because we can't just let this be a one-off thing. Thank you so much, sir. I would like you to just say a word or two, sir, in a sort of encouragement and motivation to the photographers and lovers of photographers and creative content creators on this space.
Thank you. First of all, thank you very much, Kingsley, for having me. I feel honored. I'm humbled by this. Thank you, people, for staying through, this long talk. you know, and what can I say? One of the most important things I want you people to know is that you must have the courage to be yourself. Have the courage to be yourself. You are a unique human being. Once you understand the tenets of design and the basics of imagery, the rest of it is about expressing who you are. Search into your history. Find out who you are. Once you can tap into it, then you have something that no other person has. That originality cannot be, nobody can compete with it. So that is what gives me my power. My power is that I'm not competing with anybody. I am just me. And once I'm confident in myself, it resonates in my work. So have the courage to be yourself. And that courage comes from knowledge. Keep becoming. And the more you become, the more powerful you become. Thank you.
Wow, that was such a very powerful uh, encouragement words. I have personally, you've personally sort of refilled my confidence and my strength in photography, and I'm going to do some more. I'm going to put everything you've taught us so far into practice from tomorrow morning, and I'm really excited. Please, I want to ask you, everyone on the space, for the last time, kindly follow Sir Kelechi Amadi on this Twitter, on his Twitter page. Follow everyone. Go on Instagram. Follow Kelechi Amadi will be on Instagram. Click on his YouTube page to be able to get subscribe to his YouTube and get notifications for his project video tutorials. It's going to help you a long way. Just do that in appreciation to say thank you, sir, for taking out time. You could have been resting or working, like I said, on your new project, and then you just had to give us this time and up till this moment. Please just do that in appreciation to say thank you, thank you, thank you. Sir, we love you so much, and on behalf of Flick Click photography community, we say thank you. And I don't know what can even express how much we really value this moment and the support you've given us this night. We just want to say thank you, sir. Thank you, and do have a uh, wonderful night rest, and do have a success in your upcoming project. We love you, sir. God
And
bless
thank you. Thank you for
you.
having me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Good
Okay.
night, sir.
Good night. Bye.
Okay, guys, ladies and gentlemen, just want to say thank you so much for taking out this time and then spending this long to be here. I know it's been a roller coaster, but yeah, nothing good come easy. It was the time, it was the moment, it was the stress. Just want to say thank you. If you want to join Flick Click Photography community, you just have to follow me and then send me a DM, and you're going to be added to the group where we share knowledge, ideas, we make pictures, imagery review, we speak to ourselves, we share crazy time, bad time, and good time. So it's sort of a big family. You are welcome to joining us, and we're also looking forward to another space I'm also looking forward to bring up another top photographer to speak to us. All right. So more of keeping us in check every time. Follow everyone on the space and have a good night rest. Thank you everyone for sticking around. I just want to give a shout out to almost everybody in the space. Stick around. Ozzy, Sakin, Chinel, Sakin Photography, Oluya, Taiwo, Doris, Only, King Belvin, iDesign, Aizan, Ayo, Rocket, Joseph, Ajani, Diade, Transcend, Black, Ayo, my Amy Akpan, Promise, Free, Frederick, Abajo, Godwin, Ben. Stick around, I'm gonna give a shout out. Don't go yet. Ben Rabia, Luxury, Wale, Tunde, Daniel, Sean K. Thank you guys for sticking around. Do have a good night rest. Cheers. Sign out. God bless you. Good night. Bye.
This space was downloaded via spacesdown.com. Visit to download your spaces today.